Check, check. Can you hear me? Check, check. Can you hear me? Hey, Britt. Check, check. Check. Hello, hello. Check, check, check. Hello. Check, check.
Hello. Yes, sir. No. No. You having fun with that camera? Yeah, the volume is up.
Check, check.
Oh, there you go. I got it now.
Awesome.
All right, all right.
All right, that sounds good. You, I guess you've been through this enough before. You know how touchy those cameras are. Okay.
Check, check. Can you hear me?
Great. No worries.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Check, check. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. I got nervous for a second.
You hear me all right?
Yeah, I hear you perfectly.
I'm not hearing myself actually.
Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes.
All right. So yeah, I can hear you, but it's not coming from that mic.
Mic's not working. Can you hear me at all? Hey, our mics are not working. Although I can see when I talk into it, the levels are peaking on the system. We never had problems with the mic, and they were working this morning before you connected. Okay. Hey. Right, we're not getting our local mics. We're not hearing them locally. I guess you're not hearing them there either. I'm not sure how you're hearing it in the room. Um, maybe the cameras have mics too. My tenants, I power cycle. There.
Hey, Britt. Do you
Yeah.
want to give Jason a call? I'm not sure your system over there, so I usually be able to talk you through it, but I'm not familiar with the system in Montauk.
Right. All
Wait,
right.
can you test the mic again? I just heard you really.
Yeah. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, I can hear that perfectly from the mic.
Yeah. It's got to be related to this PC and how it's handling the audio because prior to you connecting, and even with this PC being off, we can hear it coming out of our speakers, no problem. And just 20 minutes ago when we put fresh batteries in the mics, it worked fine. But now I got nothing. It's like I'm not hearing anything come out of our speakers.
Okay.
Actually gonna
And our amp, I power cycled the amp. The amp's fine.
I might have Jason call you because we're hearing
Okay.
it perfectly over here.
side, we can hear it.
I mean, I have his number. You want me just to call him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry to bother you. All right. So Zach and Nestle are against the station, and so we're not getting audio locally here out of our mic speakers, but they can hear me talking into the mics there. Correct. Which sounds like our amp, but I power cycled the amp, and prior to you connecting, it was working. Okay.
All right, so if so the way the entire thing works is we can cable trace first off. There's the cable that comes from the closet and it goes around over to the stage. Down, it's on the ground.
Yeah.
It goes around to the stage. Let me just make sure that that's plugged in.
So it was working earlier.
It was working earlier.
Yeah, it was working 20 minutes ago.
Oh, it was working 20 minutes ago?
Yes.
Can we turn off the PA system? We already did that.
I did that.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. It was working 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, it was working until you remoted in.
Okay. It's working until we remoted it in.
Yeah. And what's weird is they're hearing it.
No, so let me just go.
You can take it.
Trace this.
Yeah, so that one's for me. We're going to be down here for like 4 hours.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Jason, sorry.
Give me a second.
I feel like I want to power cycle this PC.
Power cycling.
Yeah.
Power cycling. Just power. Do me a favor. Power cycle the PC, and then power cycle the PC, and then power cycle the system, the audio system.
Oh,
What's it?
yeah, okay.
What's up?
All right, no, I'll do that. I've never done power cycle the audio system, so I'll do that too.
We've lost power. So.
Oh, yeah. It's like it happens regularly now.
You know.
All right, I'm going to hang up with you then.
It does, yeah.
Just a question.
I think I do.
It depends, I guess, what side you're on,
No,
right?
all mics. Testing, testing, all mics are out.
A lot of different.
Check.
That made sense.
I'll,
Yeah, power check one more time.
Can you get that?
Should be working. I think everything. I mean,
Right down there.
Oh, thanks.
there's no.
There's a second version because there was some late resolution, so there's,
on our shore
the
equipment.
top is a new tower.
Everything's fine on that side. The only thing I could also say is maybe,
Are we looking for,
you know,
Someone else?
do we check the
No.
the plug into the wall?
No, I didn't look down, actually. That was what it was.
I did. It's fine.
Kathy,
Okay.
where is the link?
It
We're all good here.
came from Jason last night, I think.
All right.
I'm just gonna angle.
Test, test. Oh, we're back.
Jason's.
We're back. We're back.
Didn't come from Jason?
Came
Check.
I got it back.
Can you hear me?
Sorry, I need to
Check.
angle that.
Test, test, test. Okay, we're back. All right, let's.
Who'd it come from?
You do?
Thank you.
I'm trying to
No
find
worries,
out.
dude.
Didn't-
Things happen. We got this. All
Okay,
right.
yep.
Can I tilt this?
It's always good to start off the morning with a little bit of light
David, can you
cardio.
see it this way?
Yes.
Jason, hang up.
CTV? Yeah, I'm fine.
I'll tell you something later that happened on the water yesterday.
Sure.
Crazy.
I'm going to join via Zoom.
Okay.
And it came from someone else.
No, I just-
He's like Escobar. Esli, ESLY Escobar.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send it to you.
No, I got it.
Oh, no. It did come from Jason yesterday.
Yeah, it's right here.
Exactly the same.
I'll send it to Eric.
Hey guys.
I think he
wanna
has it 'cause he
be
just-
good momentarily. Check. Can you hear me? Hello.
Hey, guys, I don't know if you can hear me, Eric Shantz remotely.
Yes, we can.
Okay, obviously, I have the link. Aileen sent it to me.
Oh, okay.
And Ian, I don't know if you were looking for it, but I forwarded you that link too.
Yes, thank you. Well, you're like all knowing there.
Well, I heard you guys.
Check.
I shall
Can you
go
hear me?
dark now.
Hello. Hello. Check. Hello.
All the mics are live.
Good to know.
Aren't they always?
Check. Can you hear me?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the East Hampton Town Board Work Session of Tuesday, June 9th, 2026. Michael, if you could please read the roll call.
Councilmember Flight.
Present.
Council Deputy Supervisor Lease.
Present.
Councilmember Rogers.
Present.
Councilmember Calder Piedmont.
Present.
Supervisor Kathy Burke Gonzalez.
Present. If we could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So today we start our meeting with public portion. I know that there are a number of folks on the line, so we ask you to kindly keep your comments to 3 minutes. That'll be followed by 4 work session topics: paddlecraft safety with Tim Treadwell, Chapter 255 rent restricted employer-sponsored housing, we're bringing that back with Eric Shantz. The acquisition of 549 and 550 Wainscott Northwest Road, that's an after hearing discussion, and then sanitation fees with Councilmember Tom Flight. That'll be followed by liaison reports and then resolutions. So, Michael, has anyone signed up for a public portion? Okay, is there anyone here that, yes. Please, Brian. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Supervisor, members of the board. Brian Matthews, Curtis, Cooley, and Choron here this morning on behalf of Retreat on WNR LLC, as the owner of the residential property located at 554 Wainscott Northwest Road. I'm obviously here to speak this morning very quickly on the town's intended potential acquisition of 549 and 550 Wainscott Northwest Road with community housing funds. We're here today to object to that purchase with those community housing funds and to ask the town to reconsider this expenditure of nearly $4 million of those funds and urge the town to reconsider that purchase using preservation funds. I know that there is a proposed resolution that's being added to the agenda authorizing this purchase. However, we ask the town to take a fresh look and to reconsider. To be clear, this is not a request or a demand that the town abandon this transaction. It's instead a request or demand, if you will, that the town use the right fund for this purchase. The matter before this board at this moment is the use of restricted community housing fund money, not in the abstract of whether the town could or should acquire this land. The town can certainly acquire these properties, but it must do so through the correct fund and for the lawful purposes that the properties themselves and the characteristics of those properties dictate. As it stands now, we believe that the manner in which the town's proceeding is violative of state law. And on top of that, there is already a number of properties that the town has title to that are more appropriate for community housing needs. And just quick, I know that there's an action that was previously filed by another neighbor that was recently dismissed. However, when you look at that decision and order, the court dismissed that action as finding that it was not ripe for review, meaning the court didn't have jurisdiction over it. I'm sure you'll have those discussions with your counsel. But to the extent that there were any other statements made by the court in that decision about what was authorized and what was appropriate, none of those findings are binding or even advisory. They're void as a matter of law. So as to the legality of the use of community funds, the use of those funds is governed by Town Law 64K. And here, given that we're not talking about down payment assistance or the upkeep of existing units, the only ostensible use are the uses set forth in 64K 3B through D, each of which involve the actual construction of community housing units. 64K7 expressly provides that before any community housing funds may be expended, the town is also required to adopt a community housing plan that adheres to certain enumerated smart growth principles. So while the town does have a general plan in place, nothing in any of the resolutions or documents or court filings that we've seen has the town made any finding that this purchase and this intended development satisfies any of those statutory obligations. The lack of any of that finding is hardly surprising. I mean, by the town's own acknowledgement in the EAF, the properties are located within the town designated drinking water recharge protection area and the state designated special groundwater protection area. So in order to allow for the level of housing that is necessary to make an actual impact, the properties would have to be rezoned, which itself raises potential spot zoning issues, but would then certainly do away with the state and town designated protections that this property has been afforded. So this fact alone should render this action arbitrary and capricious. Either the town has looked at this and has decided we are going to rezone this property, which is not reflected in any document, or they haven't looked at it at all. Either way, it undercuts the use of these community housing funds. So we asked the town to reconsider and specifically note that just last week, the town took properties at 91 and 93 Industrial Road off the airport plan. Those properties have infrastructure in place, remediation in place, all of the smart growth principles already in place and are more appropriate and useful and viable for community housing funds. And we ask the town to reconsider.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Kirby.
Yes.
Welcome, Kirby.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. I'm Kirby Marcantonio, and I've appeared before the town board often on the subject of affordable housing. And I want to thank the town, number one, for bringing the rent regulated code to the table again today. I hope that we can now finalize what we have and hopefully be able to move on to developing the only parcel of land in the entire town of East Hampton that is zoned for affordable housing. I just want to make a reference to what the gentleman just had to say. Not in my backyard, of course, is the easiest thing to say about anything. However, in the entire 250 square miles of the town of East Hampton, there are a handful of properties that are suitable for housing. In Montauk, there isn't a single one. Again, you have to have 3 acres of land, you have to be on an accessible road, you have to have public water, and you have to have some kind of a neighborhood coherence. There isn't a single thing in Montauk, there isn't a single thing in Amagansett, except for 6 acres that the Amagansett Fire Department owns, which is zoned for affordable housing, but they choose not to use it for their own purposes. There is 1 parcel in East Hampton, which is basically owned by the Springs School District, which requires a tremendous amount of legislation to bring it to market. Then you move into the honeypot, the area of the entire town of East Hampton where there are any parcels over 3 acres with public water, with transportation, and also that have a neighborhood that could hold it. The 3 biggest ones are, of course, the airport. That's not going to happen. The gun club, which we still hope to see something there, but I think it's safe to say for today's meeting, that's off the table. And then we have the sand pit, which is 94 acres, which again is in a variety of development phases. After that, you have Wayne Scott Northwest Road. That's it. That's the next biggest property in the entire town of East Hampton that could possibly be used for housing. The idea that in a town where literally nobody can buy a house who lives here, that we should look at a 13-acre piece of property, which could be 5 units, 10 units, 20 units. It's not going to be 60 units. My sister lives across the street from it and has since 1982, and even she would have a problem with too large a development there. But the point of the matter is that if you look beyond just the ordinary people who all wish to stay here, we did a recent survey of what you might call essential workers. We were able to get data on the school systems, the town of East Hampton, the village of East Hampton, and even Southampton Hospital. Basically speaking, there are 2,361 people on those payrolls. Of those 2,361, 1% can buy a house here. In Montauk, you have a Montauk school district with 86 people in it. 2 people can buy a house. Everybody else is waiting or commuting, or they're lucky enough to have something. The town of East Hampton has 340 workers. 2 can buy a house. Now, I've lived here almost my whole life. I don't like to see things change unless they have to, but the point of the matter is that buying Wayne Scott and knowing that there are years of planning and years of study and years of development before anything happens is a valuable opportunity that can't be missed.
Thank you, Kirby. Would anyone else like to address the board? Okay, we're going to go to the phones now. Zach, if you could please put the first caller through.
Okay.
Good
Caller
morning.
1054, you are on live.
Good morning. My name is Claudia Chamberlain Zahorsky. I'm calling in regards to the estate of Eileen B. Chamberlain. I am a beneficiary and part owner of the property located at 550 Wainscott Road. I would like to read a letter from my attorney, Michael J. Anton Giovanni. He is a partner at Rivkin and Radler. Dear Ms. Lofton, the firm represents Claudia Chamberlain Zahorsky in the above referenced matter. We understand that you represent the estate of Eileen B. Chamberlain and that the estate is presently in contract with the town of East Hampton to sell the property located at 550 Wainscott Road, East Hampton, New York. We further understand that the estate set a time of the essence closing for June 25, 26. Please be advised that Mrs. Zahorsky objects to the proposed sale of the property and demands that the TOE closing be canceled forthwith. According to the deed dated March 27, 2012, a copy of which is annexed hereto, the estate does not have the authority to convey full title to the property as it purports. Indeed, the deed reflects that on or about March 27, 2012, Eileen B. Chamberlain conveyed a 29.41% tenants in common interest in the property to her then living children, Eileen Chamberlain Donahoe, Claudia Chamberlain Zahorsky, and Matthew Chamberlain. Thus, in order to convey full title to the property, the estate needs Mrs. Zahorsky's consent, which it does not have, as well as the consent of the other grantees. In addition to objecting to the sale as a part owner of the property, Ms. Zahorsky also objects to the proposed sale as a beneficiary of the estate. We understand that Mrs. Zahorsky has previously made her objections known to the executor of the estate as well as to you. Mrs. Zahorsky was not consulted regarding the terms of the sale nor provided with pertinent information regarding the sale to which she is rightfully entitled. Mrs. Zahorsky understands that the town of East Hampton seeks to acquire the property to use as affordable housing and that the purchase price is depressed and not fair value, which the attorney for the town of East Hampton has admitted in an affirmation filed in the matter of Elisa McKenna against the town of East Hampton et al., Suffolk County Index number 613737. The town's plausible damages would include not just the loss of the property at an extraordinary price, but also, one, the permanent loss of 13.5 acres in a market where comparable land does not exist at this price. As such, Mrs. Zahorsky hereby demands by no later than close of business Monday, June 8, 2026, the estate confirm in writing that it has canceled the TOE closing and provide evidence of such cancellation. 2, confirm in writing that it is terminating the proposed sale of the property to the town of East Hampton. 3, provide all documentation concerning the proposed sale of the property and the marketing of same, including but not limited to appraisals, listing sheets, listing agreements, marketing materials, offers, contracts, and communications with the town of East Hampton and any other prospective purchaser regarding the sale of property. Failing such response by the above deadline, Mrs. Zahorsky will forthwith proceed to enforce all of her rights and remedies, both individually and as beneficiary of the estate, including but not limited to commencing a litigation concerning the title to the property and this proposed sale, and will seek to recover all damages to which she is entitled. Please take further notice that estate must preserve all evidence and documentation regarding this matter, including hard copy records and electronic communications, including but not limited to emails, text messages, chat messages, and the like. Please be guided accordingly. All of Mrs. Zahorsky's rights and remedies remain reserved. Very truly yours, Michael J. Anton Giovanni. Thank you. Please take this into consideration.
Thank you. Zach, if you could please put the next caller through.
Okay, caller 0017, you were live.
Hi, my name is Chris Kozak, and I live on Wainscott Northwest Road. A few comments in advance of the acquisition vote today. I'm a direct neighbor to 550 Wainscott Northwest. First, we love our beautiful wooded neighborhood and live next door in an 1,800 square foot home and use less than half of our zone clearing limit set by the town. Second, I don't appreciate the name calling used by others and think we can all be adults on this topic. I acknowledge this is a large plot of land. Second, I note it's one of the largest plots of undeveloped and wooded open space in northern Wainscott and all of East Hampton. East Hampton leads the nation in open space preservation, and I'm saddened that this town board is getting to bulldoze one of Wainscott's largest untouched and pristine wood plots. This land is not a parking lot or repurposed cleared site. It's an environmentally sensitive area that will be severely impacted by any development. This land is in low-density zoning, a sensitive water recharge area, and lacks public infrastructure, making it distinct from other housing developments across town. The town also has a track record of preserving identical plots a few steps away. These facts are evidence of important rules put in place to protect our town, our open spaces, and the beauty that make it so special and loved by all of us. For the rest of East Hampton, note the precedent that would be set by the town board. They plan to ignore the stringent rules that they make you follow. You can wait a year for your permit, and the town wants to grade their own test. You can spend tens of thousands of dollars revegetating, and the town plans to clear land next door. Over the last 2 months, it's become abundantly clear the neighbors and your constituents in Wainscott don't want high-density construction here. The seller evidently also doesn't want this and has represented that the town has deceived them by saying they would preserve the land. While non-voting members of the town, I have to mention the deer, fox, bats, mink, turkeys, raptors, bird species, and small mammals I see happily scurrying around that want their habitat not leveled and also pushed towards 114. I'd ask the board to consider if they see a drawn-out multi-year fight with your own existing neighbors on taxpayer dollars as the fix we need on housing. And I'd ask the town to do the hard work for Wainscott more broadly. Stop the rifle shot approach on housing and come up with a plan and discuss with us unless it's intended to just be performative. Resolve our concerns and make thoughtful plans for the 50-acre industrial lot only 2 miles south. Thoughtfully use the existing spaces, land, and clear lots on airport grounds. Resolve our concerns and come up with a fair resolution for the gun club. Resolve our concerns and do something about the airport noise. Save our open spaces and the limited space left for our wildlife. I know there are many stakeholders here that want to win. The town board wants to win on housing. The developers ultimately certainly want to win on those contracts. And the people who actually live on Wainscott Northwest want to win to preserve the rural community that we love. It's clear to me that when I called in the original April 6th meeting that the board had made up its mind before talking to any of us. But with that said, I hope you do consider our comments today, and thank you for the time.
Thank you, Chris. Zach, if you could put the next caller through, please.
Caller 2777, you are on. Caller 2777, you are on.
Thanks for helping.
You want to go on to the next caller, Zach? And you can come back to them?
Yes, 1 second. Caller 5002, you are on.
Yes, hello, good morning, board members. Alon Rosenthal here. I'm sure you're used to hearing from me by now. I won't ask you any questions. Instead, you could just listen to me. As you know, I live adjacent to 550 Wainscott Northwest Road. I'm calling regarding today's discussion and the vote on acquisition using CPH funds to reiterate prior valid concerns and flag some new ones. You're about to commit $4 million of community housing fund money to buy land that under your own zoning can hold 2 houses, 2, with limited clearing. It sits on our sole source aquifer in the water recharge overlay. It's home to federally endangered bats that mitigate our population of dangerous insects. Every plan this town has adopted calls for its preservation, and the law that governs this fund requires actual production of housing, which this land cannot produce. I am highly concerned that something is very wrong here. How can the board seriously think that buying land with no plan that allows for only 1 or 2 houses that's environmentally protected by the town's own laws, the State Department of Conservation, Suffolk County Groundwater Protection Act, and the United States EPA is suitable for housing, or will produce actual housing like the law requires. And you're going to circumvent environmental review that protects residents and our drinking water while doing so? What kind of board does this to its residents? Concerningly, the hard look you claimed you made to declare secret unnecessary doesn't even mention the residential neighbors in the EAF form questionnaire. It's like you don't even care and think the laws don't apply to you. One of 2 things is true here. Either there is no plan and you're wasting millions of dollars on land you can't build anything substantial on, admitting you have no idea what will or can be built while ignoring more suitable, legally compliant sites the town already owns and other available viable housing sites I sent you. Or you do intend to develop it with high-density housing. There is a plan for 60 units, which is what the affordable housing overlay you would have to put requires, and you're purposely violating SECRA and the rights and protections of residents and illegally segmenting it. The only basis the town has offered for this purchase is that it's too good of a deal to be passed up. Well, let me tell you, this is not a deal. It is a fiscally irresponsible waste of public funds that doesn't meet this fund's statutory legal requirements and the town's own adopted smart growth requirements, which they are required to follow by law. Smart growth requires infrastructure, school capacity, siting near jobs, and transportation, and minimizing public investment while conserving environmentally critical land. I've already demonstrated to you over and over at the hearing that none of those principles apply here. It also doesn't meet equitable distribution either. You already have community housing money committed about a mile away, excuse me. I've said it before and I'll say it again. This purchase does not comply with the law, and the town is circumventing resident secret protections to buy it. Notably, I've heard the town board's claims, which will likely falsely be repeated here today, that a judge in my neighbor's case cleared the way and that it's legal. That is not the case. The court dismissed the neighbor's case as premature because this vote had not yet occurred, and it expressly declined to decide whether the segmenting is lawful, stating that the court cleared this is inaccurate. Residents deserve a town that embraces the law and follows it, not one that wastes taxpayer funds on pricey outside counsel to find ways to circumvent it and then waste more money in years trying to defend it. Residents deserve a town that protects critical environmental lands like they say they do in public, and residents deserve a town that does not waste public funds and that uses public land holdings properly and efficiently. You already own more suitable land to use for housing development. The gun club down the street on Wayne-Scott Northwest Road has 100 acres, 20 already cleared, in need of remediation due to lead bullets leaching into our water supply. Residents want and support housing there that can pay for and supplement an indoor gun club that satisfies everyone and that prevents bullets that have been hitting people's homes. Instead, you're offering them a $100 a year lease when the lease allows you to not renew if a better use like housing is needed for the land.
Alon,
91 and 93.
Up, please. Alon,
No problem. I'll wrap it up. Please vote no on the community housing fund expenditure. And I've sent you guys a demand for preservation. You should adopt the Community Preservation Fund today to acquire this, just like you did for the Pathfinder Camp. Kathy, I anticipate this will be well publicized, so this is your chance to prove what you really care about and stand for. Are you going to do what you say you do in your re-election campaign on Instagram and protect the environment and protect critical forested land on our aquifer? Or are you going to waste more public housing funds on another land deal that cannot and should not be developed while you set a precedent that throws decades of environmental protection out the window? Thank you.
Zach, please put the next caller through.
Caller 2777, you are on. Caller 8764, you are on.
Good morning. This is David Buddha calling from the Springs. I'm calling with regard to a resolution number 2026-991 I'm sorry, wrong one. 2026-990 to release security posted by the owners and builders and developers of 33 Harborview Drive. They were given an assignment by the town's consulting engineer, and my wife actually had alerted the town consulting engineer to deficiencies in the quality of the final road surface in part, and no response was received from him. This does not surprise me because not too long ago there was a similar situation on Gardner's Lane where a road assignment pursuant to the old filed map road work requirement was assigned, and there was an equally deficient and obvious deficiency in the quality of the road surface. I complained about that. I received no response. Now, aside from the fact that the road surface has defects that should have been repaired and should not allow the town to accept the work and therefore be able to release the security, I'm also gravely concerned that the part of Harborview Drive near 3 Mile Harbor Hog Creek Road, that was the assignment for this particular developer to improve, to the width of 24 feet within a 50-foot right-of-way, has not been met. I am asking you, please, before this is given, security is released, to take a moment, speak directly with your consulting engineer, who apparently doesn't speak to the public, send out an independent surveyor to take a measurement, or I will provide you with measurements. This is an extremely dangerous location, an intersection of Harborview Drive, a heavily traveled road, where it intersects and slopes down to meet 3 Mile Harbor Hog Creek Road. The two neighbors on the north and the south of the road have encroachments within the 50-foot right-of-way, and therefore the roadway width has not been paved to 24 feet, which was the requirement of the developer who received this road assignment. The town consulting engineer should not accept less than what was required, a 24 width top coat pavement of the asphalt in this area. Now, I don't know why no assignment was given to clear the road, the sides of the road, which is usually done when a road is improved in the old filed map area, but it wasn't done. All that was assigned was a 24-foot width of asphalt top coat paving. That wasn't done. As far as I can tell, I'm not a surveyor, I'm not an engineer, but I'm asking you, please, before you make an irrevocable decision to release a security, send someone out there to double-check the width of the roadway in the area immediately close to 3 Mile Harbor Road and between the two adjacent properties that are encroaching on the roadway. It's a dangerous area where contractors park, where neighbors and guests park, and the roadway is insufficient in width, and there is insufficient clearance on the side of the roadway within what's called the road verge, the area between the edge of the pavement and the edge of the town's right-of-way. This is an area where the town owns, or there is an existing dedication of a 50-foot right-of-way, and it should have been easy to put a 24-foot pavement in that area. It was not done to my observation. I'm asking you to please ask some professional of your choosing, town surveyor, have the engineer come back and report to you. Was it done? I don't think so. It's important that it be done for safety consideration reasons. And that's the end of my time, so have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Zach, is there anyone else on the line?
Yes, caller 4937.
Hi, this is Barry Rabeck. I want to talk about the situation in Wainscott in terms of affordable housing. There are several problems that are, some are new, some are ongoing. Certainly the choice of the parcel at 550, 549 is highly problematic for all the reasons other callers have already discussed. and there's such dispute over this, I think that we have to recognize that there's lots of affordable housing in the town that's been developed without such acrimony and conflict, because people agreed it was a good place for it and it made sense to do that. And I think there's still widespread consensus that the town needs more affordable housing. So the issue is not what, it's where and how much, obviously. And when you look at Wainscott in particular, with the project coming online at 114, that's going to be quite a lot of units. But the other issue, of course, is the already available land, which is a far better site for obvious reasons than the one on Wainscott Northwest Road at 550, and that's the airport apron and the gun club. There's widespread opposition to the gun club renewal of the lease. That's been stated publicly many times by the Wainscott Citizens Advisory Committee, as well as citizens groups such as the one I represent, Citizens for the Proper Use of Public Land. 100 acres for a gun club, an outdoor shooting range that's dangerous, and toxic and loud and invasive is certainly in a residential community just doesn't make any sense. It might have made sense 40 years ago when it was located there. It doesn't make any sense now. Clearly, that's not a good place for an outdoor shooting range. An indoor range is certainly an alternative, and then you could use the land for all kinds of better uses, including affordable housing, solar farms, recreational facilities, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't, what happens too often, it seems to me, is that the board is engaging in mysterious and secretive processes. It's hard to find out what's going on until after the fact, and then something is attempted to be rammed through against local opposition. So I think that clearly there's a win-win here, and that is to preserve this relatively small parcel on Wainscott Northwest Road in the woods in a pristine state on an aquifer, and then use land that's already been cleared, already been basically developed, has road access, et cetera, such as at the gun club. And that solves a huge problem, and also in both the sense that the gun club is a disaster for the community. The outdoor shooting range has not been properly modified even. I'm aware that the range that was supposedly going to be closed is not closed, and the berm in front of it has been actually improved. The court stipulated that had to disappear. It hasn't. But the other three are still outdoors and aiming in essentially the same direction, endangering people such as myself and 97 other homes. So including where you'd like to stick this affordable housing in Wainscott, that also will be downrange of the gun club if it exists. So I'm saying, once again, I think it's completely reasonable to, at this point, close an outdoor shooting range in a residential area that's dangerous, toxic, unnecessary, and do something far, far better and just more sensible with public land. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Barry.
Thank
Zach,
you. There
is
is
there
no more
anyone else on
callers.
the line? I'm sorry?
There are no more callers.
Great. All right, so we're going to move one more time in the room. Does anybody want to address the board? Okay, we'll move on to topics. First up is paddlecraft safety with our Chief Harbor Master, Tim Treadwell. Welcome, Tim.
Good morning, board. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to present this. In light of some recent tragedies on the water, particularly in Southampton town and one in Pennsylvania, I thought that this is very relevant. Our water is unseasonably cold this time of year, and it makes it even more important that everybody has the correct safety equipment to go out and paddle with. I want to thank my friends at Southampton Marine Patrol. They basically are the ones who helped me put this together, use some of their stuff and some of my stuff. But basically, the most important thing you can do to be safe on the water is wear a life jacket. Every year, the Coast Guard and the state release statistics, and almost always, or 90% of the fatalities on the water could be avoided if people were wearing life jackets. It's a very regular thing. So these steps that they have on here are just really, really relevant and really appropriate. So the most important things about a life jacket: it has to fit you, it has to be Coast Guard approved, and you have to either be wearing it or have it on your paddle craft at all times. Any children under 12 should be wearing it. We see a lot of people paddling around with their life jackets, say on a stand-up paddle board with their life jackets attached to the board. But if they end up in the water and they're not leashed to the board and the board floats away, their life jacket isn't doing them any good. And they make a lot of very good life jackets now. They actually have an inflatable fanny pack, which is very popular with the stand-up paddleboard crowd, which is an excellent and effective safety device. A lot of problems that we have is people don't check the weather. A lot of times, people will go out, particularly on a stand-up paddleboard, say off of Girard Drive into Gardner's Bay, and the wind's coming out of the southwest, and so they're paddling with the wind at their back, and they're moving along pretty good, and then they decide to turn around and come back, and they can't. And then hopefully they have some means of communication. The next part there, bring your safety gear. At the very least, you should have a whistle. The New York State navigation law requires you to have a sound sending device. A whistle is an easy thing to bring. A cell phone, absolutely, particularly if you can put it in a waterproof case. But I wouldn't always rely on a cell phone, because you never know when you make that cell phone call, where that call is going to get picked up. It could be in Connecticut or Block Island. Also, just like swimming, always paddle with a buddy. That way, if somebody gets in trouble, there's somebody else to help you. You also want to know where you're going and when you're going to come back, and ideally you tell someone that, what we would call at least a verbal float plan. You don't have to necessarily have a written float plan, but if you tell someone, hey, I'm going to head out into the bay paddling from Girard Drive, and I'm going to paddle along the shore in a certain direction, then that way, if you don't return, at least we have a place to start if we have to come looking for you. And then, of course, always respect nature. Don't leave any of your garbage in the water or anything like that. And if anybody has any questions about anything, there's a website here, which is the state's website, which is at the bottom of the page there on the right. You can't really see it on the screen there, but that has all the information you would possibly want as far as safety gear on the water. The Marine Patrol did over 200 recreational boarding compliance inspections last year. A lot of those were paddlecraft, and we're really not out there to write people tickets. We're out there to educate and inform and try to get people to understand the importance of respecting the water. And that's why I'm here.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions for Tim?
Just Tim, when I was paddleboarding and learning to paddleboard, instead of a cell phone, which you had to carry in a dry pack, and if it fell in the water, it's over.
Yeah.
My teachers taught me to carry a portable marine radio.
Absolutely. The VHF, you can't go wrong. Unlike a cell phone, it's not a requirement, but it's a great recommendation. And so is the leash for your paddleboard, by the way. It's not required, but it's recommended. But those radios now are very affordable. You can get a waterproof Standard Horizon for less than $100 that'll float. And if you run into distress on the water, you can call the Coast Guard on that, and they can triangulate your signal very easily. Plus, any vessels that are in the area are required to monitor Channel 16, so they can also come to your assistance. So that is, by all means, Kate, the absolute best means of, one of the most important pieces of safety equipment, and I highly recommend it.
It just hooked onto my belt.
I carry one when I'm paddling. Yeah.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Okay. Zach, if you could please bring Eric Shantz into the meeting. Next up is Chapter 255, Rent Restricted Employer-Sponsored Housing. I don't know if there's anybody else signed in.
Sure, 1 second.
Welcome, Eric.
Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Zach, is there anyone, let me just see if there's anyone, I don't know if anybody else signed in from town staff. Zach, is there anyone else in the waiting room?
Yes, 1 second, please.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. All right, you're on, Eric.
Sure. So this is in regard to rent-restricted employer-sponsored housing, a proposed new use within the town code. The town board held a public hearing on Thursday, May 7th, and subsequently discussed those comments as well as the content of the proposed code provisions on May 19th. The board formed a consensus to request that staff make a number of changes to the draft code based on public comments and board discussions, and I will summarize those changes. There were 4 specific ones. Excuse me. So the first change was to the section regarding affordability and tenant protections. The previous draft of the legislation did not include a provision for a minimum lease period. This section has been added to identify that leases cannot be for less than 1 year. This wording will allow for a minimum lease term of 1 year as opposed to a lease term of exactly 1 year. So in other words, people could offer a lease of a longer term than 1 year. And basically, that is a new section that's being added. So that would read, the initial lease term shall be for a minimum period of 1 year and may be renewed for additional periods of a minimum of 1 year. The second change that came out of the board's discussion and public comments was regarding management. The section has been changed to identify that multiple entities may be required in order to fulfill the third-party management condition. If you remember, that's a requirement of this proposed new code section, is that the developer and owner hire a third-party management company. So the previous version, though, basically just said all of these developments shall be operated and administered by a third-party management company. We just want to change the language to clarify that the development shall be operated and administered by one or more third-party management company. The reasoning for this being that it may be necessary to hire more than one company to fulfill all of the management requirements that are needed for the development. The third section change that came out of the comments was to the section on management as well. This section has been changed to identify that the third-party management consultant may utilize sub-consultants. Again, there may be specialties that are needed to fulfill the management requirements. Excuse me, section. I'm sorry. And the other clarification in this is that to mention specifically that the third-party management company is responsible for verifying tenant income. So the previous version started off saying any third-party management company managing an employer-sponsored, a rent-restricted employer-sponsored housing development. We're changing that to say any third-party management company or its sub-consultant managing such facility, and then also adding later in that section where it talks about, it says at a minimum the report, because it talks about a report being prepared by the third-party management company. At a minimum, the report shall include information on unit sales, occupancy and tenant turnover, property conditions, information on any complaints filed. That was in the previous draft. We're adding in that list tenant income verification to make it expressly clear that is a responsibility of the third-party management company. The next change, the fourth change, of 5, excuse me, is to the legal requirements section. we added a section in order to require that prior to the sale of any unit or issuance of a certificate of occupancy, the developer shall submit an offering plan for the condominium units consistent with what was approved to New York State, and that proof of this submission as well as any subsequent changes would be submitted to the town. So I won't read the entire language of it, but I'm sure the board remembers from discussion that was a conversation of an applicant providing the condominium offering plan to the town and notifying it of any changes. So that has been incorporated into the draft code. And then the fifth and last change is adding a new section which is added in order to enable the town board to charge fees as may be amended from time to time for the administrative costs borne to the town as a result of oversight of the facility. So basically a section has been added that identifies that the town board can charge a fee for the money and time and staff expenditure that's made in reviewing these facilities. So in conclusion, the board should discuss these amendments to the draft code. And once the board has formed a consensus on the content of the revised code provisions, the matter should be scheduled for another public hearing and referred to the planning board for comment. Subsequent to a hearing, we would fulfill all of our requirements. The board would likely have another work session discussion about substantive public comments that were received, and then provided there were no further changes, no additional public hearing needed, the planning department would prepare an environmental assessment and we would send out the referral to the planning commission. But step one is to review these changes, decide if the board is okay with them, and then a renotice or a notice of a new public hearing.
Great, thank you, Eric. Ian, you want to?
Thank you, Eric. I'm in support of this legislation. I think that we had one public hearing. We had public comments. I think we had a thoughtful board discussion, and we changed the legislation based on that. This is a process that certainly prolongs it because we'll be required to have another public hearing should the board choose to move forward. But I think this legislation is better than it was the first time around, and that's the point of the public process. I won't go into all of the details. I think Eric summed it up very, very well. I'll just reiterate his point about the language is a little confusing about multiple management companies, and really what we were getting at there is making sure that the income verification part was going to be very tightly managed. And there's a chance that somebody who manages condos in general to make sure that they function don't have the same capabilities of somebody who's particularly adept at income verifying, because obviously, even though this is different than affordable housing, we want to make sure that we're targeting the same type of people, both in that their income qualifies and the rent that they're paying. And so we thought it important to make sure we were open-minded about having a separate company income verify. Other than that, I don't have much to add, but I'm supportive of this legislation. I hope we can go to another public hearing and move forward.
Great, thank you. I also support the rationales that my fellow board member, that Ian has just enumerated. As you know, I was cautious. I am cautious about this type of development. However, considering the crisis that we're in, I think it's appropriate to allow this new type, shall I say, of affordable housing be permitted under this code. And so I think the changes that we've made, I agree with Ian that I think the code has been improved even from the last time we went to public hearing, and I can support going to public hearing with this draft. Thank you, Kate.
I don't have many more comments than you haven't already heard. The 5 changes are substantive enough to go to another public hearing. I look forward to that also. I also like the option in here to make sure that if there's any town staff time that's expended, that it could be reimbursed as fees that would be set later. I look forward to hearing from the public.
Great.
Yeah, no further comments from me. I'm fully supportive of this.
Okay, great. So I am as well. I'm ready to take this back to the public hearing. So as far as the schedule is concerned, Ian, so do you want to notice it? Because a zoning code change needs usually we go a month. And then on the same track, have the planning board, or do you want to go back to the planning board first before we notice it?
Eric, what do you think about that? The planning board have they not seen these most recent?
They haven't seen the changes yet. We were debating bringing that to the planning board meeting next week, but there will probably be at least 2 in the interim of when you're scheduling the public hearing. So I don't think I don't think the timing with the planning board is any impediment to you scheduling a hearing. I think we could get their comments in advance of that hearing, or, you could even incorporate them after the hearing in your work session discussion.
Yeah, I know that there was some language that considered them when it came to, I believe, the offering plan, that it said something about complying with planning board. So anyway, I will schedule for a public hearing at the soonest possible date, and in the interim, make sure that we hear from the planning board.
So that would be, we could notice it on June 18th and hear it on July 16th.
Sounds good.
All right, beautiful. All right, so let's move on to the next topic, and that is the acquisition of 549 and 550 Wainscott Northwest Road. We're here to have our after hearing discussion. Ian, you want to lead us off as the liaison to housing?
Yeah, so, obviously we already heard public comments about this topic. This is a controversial topic. I think it's important that we listen and we hear from people. We've done that. I think that, again, there's been a lot of comments both at board meetings, and I've had comments, I've spoken on the phone with people outside of these public meetings. So, we may disagree, some of us, about what the path forward is, but I don't think that's indicative that we haven't listened and we haven't heard. I think this is an appropriate purchase, and we've also had extensive advice from council, and I think it's a legal purchase. Affordable housing is one of the biggest needs that we have in East End, and I think that we basically all agree on that, even people who opposed this purchase. I also want to address SECRA. We are segmenting SECRA, and I think we're doing that in a permissible way. We aren't claiming that we've done SECRA review that is enough for a future development. I think we all acknowledge that however this is developed, and we don't have a current plan, there will need to be a thorough SECRA review. And I don't think affordable housing and environmental protection are at odds. And we'll make sure that there's a thorough process that makes sure that that's the case. I think given the limited time frame that you have to purchase property, stuff does not stay on the market for, a long period of time that it takes to plan a thoughtful project. And I think we do need to plan this thoughtfully. So it's imperative that we act now if we want to have any opportunity for affordable housing to occur here. It's just not practically possible to have a fully vetted planned development and still have the time to purchase something. That said, again, we will do a thorough SECRA review, and if anything comes up during the environmental review or for any other reason indicates that we can't develop this property responsibly, we won't. And I know that there's been concern about wasting CH funds, and that this isn't a legal purchase and it would be a waste of money. This is new law, there's no question, community housing law. But I believe, and I think common sense dictates, that if we aren't able to develop this for affordable housing, we could sell it and replenish the community housing fund. Of course, we could develop it with just a couple of houses right now. Practically speaking, that would not be a great investment, but I believe that the intent of the law is clear, and common sense dictates that if we can't develop it for affordable housing, that we can sell it and replenish that fund. We do intend to move forward with a thoughtful plan, which will take time. There's no intention to spend this money and let it sit there without anything happening. So once we make this purchase, I think that the hard work will begin about what type of development will be here, and certainly that should involve neighbors, the public, and the community as a whole. The objective here, as indicated by using community housing funds, is to purchase this for housing. But again, I don't think that needs to be, in conflict with environmental protections. And so there will be thorough SECRA review and a lot of work that goes into the next step. But the first step is to purchase the land. To sum it up, I think that if we want to keep our options open, and I have an open mind about this, if we don't act, then the decision is final. Nothing happens here and it won't be affordable housing. If we do act, I believe that we have the time to develop a responsible plan, honor both, thorough SECRA review and the intent of community housing funds. So the point is to keep our options open. I also just want to speak from the heart a little bit. I know this may be litigious, and there are people who say that you should say less in cases like this, but I feel like it's important for me to tell the public why I'm going to vote the way that I'm going to vote. And it's not that I haven't listened or I haven't heard. It's that, I feel that the right move here is to purchase this for affordable housing. We live in a very special place, and I think that when East Hampton voters decided to pass the community housing law, we passed it with a higher percentage of people than any other community. I think that shows what a special place we live in, and that people acknowledge what an important need this is. Now, we can disagree about the details of where affordable housing should be and whether this is an appropriate site, and that conversation will continue. But I think we've acknowledged as a community that this is a need we should address. And I believe that this is an appropriate place for it. I know there's been talk about other sites. We are not going to solve our affordable housing problem with one site. I don't believe that this is the final answer to everything, but I believe it's an opportunity that we need to pursue in addition to all the other ones that have been suggested. And frankly, people who have suggested other opportunities, I'm also looking at. I don't think it's an either or type of situation. So the details can be debated. There'll be time for that, even if we purchase this. But if we don't act, the opportunity is gone. I also want to address the idea of, again, I said this earlier, but purchasing without a plan. Let's use common sense. There is no way that we can have a fully vetted development plan on new real estate that we're purchasing. I think everybody knows that. So I hope that as we debate whether this is an appropriate site, we all recognize that, because if we determine or people argue that you can't purchase property without a specific plan and a full secret review, that basically means you can't purchase new property for affordable housing. That would be a big loss for the town, regardless of what you think about this particular site.
Thank you, Ian.
So, yes, thank you, Kathy. I agree with everything that my colleague has stated to you, and I'm just going to enumerate some of my reasoning, my personal reasoning as well, on our vote to acquire approximately 13 acres of land in Wainscott. While no specific development project has been proposed or approved at this time, this purchase, to me, represents a thoughtful, forward-looking step in the town's ongoing efforts to address one of the most pressing challenges facing our community: the availability of safe, stable, and affordable housing for working families, seniors, teachers, healthcare workers, and others who make East Hampton the community that it is. I recognize fully, and have experience with this in my personal life as well, that the prospect of affordable housing development can raise questions and many concerns from residents. This is entirely understandable. What I'm saying today is intended to explain why this land purchase matters and how the town approaches affordable housing plan and what our track record of actual developments that have happened in this town demonstrates about our commitment to thoughtful, community-sensitive development. Affordable housing on the East End is an increasingly rare resource. Property values in East Hampton and surrounding areas, as we all know, has driven dramatically. The new median house price in the town of East Hampton is $2.4 million. That is the median house price, and I want folks to just take thought about that. Who can afford that, and who needs housing affordability? The bucket of folks that need housing affordability grows by the day in this town. Opportunities to secure appropriate located parcels for community benefit are rare, as has been stated. When such an opportunity arises, the responsible course of action for any municipality is to act, even before a specific project is defined. Purchasing land now preserves the town's options and ensures that future affordable housing, when and if developed, can be built in a location that meets community needs rather than being dictated solely by whatever happens to be available at the time of the need. This strategic planning is at its most basic, securing resources today to serve our residents, our community, tomorrow. The housing crisis affecting East Hampton is not abstract. We heard about essential workers tallies from a speaker during public portion. These are our neighbors, the people who staff our hospitals, teach in our schools, serve in our local restaurants, care for our neighbors. And we all know that increasingly these folks cannot afford to live in the community where they work. And think about that for a second. Long commutes, overcrowded living situations, the inability to put down roots, destabilizing families, and weakens the social fabric of our town. Addressing this requires not just political will, but land. I also understand that the words affordable housing can really prompt anxiety. That's been happening since affordable housing has started to become a need, not only in East Hampton, but all over. And of course, residents may worry about the impacts on school enrollment and district resources, the environment, the open space character of our area, neighborhood scale and aesthetics, and property values, which I don't believe actually are impacted by any of our affordable housing developments. These are legitimate concerns, and I do not dismiss them. In fact, they are precisely the concerns that have shaped how East Hampton has approached every affordable housing project it undertakes. And our record, I believe, speaks for itself. The town has consistently produced housing that is sensitive to its surroundings, appropriately scaled, and carefully planned to fit within the broader fabric of our neighborhoods. Every affordable housing project the town develops is evaluated through multiple lenses before a single shovel breaks ground. These include school district impacts, environmental stewardship, neighborhood compatibility. We have a track record. It's not the first housing development that we're building, and our approach has already been built into our process. Two completed projects that come to mind immediately, one that I have intimate experience with as a neighbor to the proposed project, was the Green Hollow Affordable Housing, which is also in special water recharge areas, sensitive areas, as are many, actually, by the way, market-built houses. The idea that you have a water recharge overlay or you're in a sensitive area does not preclude you from building a house. It means you have to take special considerations to do so. So when people keep saying it's in a water recharge overlay district, by our own standards, the definitions that we created, this means you need to take more care, but it doesn't preclude anything being built. And I'm sure all the neighbors that actually live in that area would agree with that as well, because they bought their houses there. For me, Green Hollow stands as one of the town's most successful affordable housing developments. It was litigated, it was fought. The project was conceived with a commitment to blending seamlessly into the surrounding landscape despite all the objections. Environmental considerations were central to the site design, and the resulting development provides quality homes for working community families while respecting the character of that neighborhood. It fit in seamlessly. I bet you can drive there and not know where market rate houses start and the affordable development begins. The residents and neighbors who were initially cautious about the project, such as myself, came to see it as a genuine asset to the community. Green Hollow demonstrated that affordable housing done right strengthens a neighborhood. It does not diminish it. Another affordable housing that we put in that has really enhanced the neighborhood, fit in seamlessly, is the Amagansett Affordable Housing Project, located within a community with a distinct and cherished identity. This project demands particular sensitivity to place. The town worked closely with residents, stakeholders, and the school district to ensure that scale, design, and siting all reflected the values of that surrounding neighborhood. School district considerations were factored in from the earliest planning, and there were multiple meetings with the school districts, as there has been also for the Route 114 project. The result of that development is it provides stable, quality housing for local families while fitting naturally into the Amagansett community. To be clear, our proposed acquisition of the 13-acre Wainscott parcel does not commit the town to any specific project. No plans have been drawn, no units have been proposed, no approvals have been sought by any other agency. What the purchase does is give the town, as Ian said, the time and space to plan thoughtfully. It means that the community is ready to move forward, the land will be there, the conversation about what to be built, how to build it, and how to ensure it fits within the Wainscott community can happen deliberately, with full public participation rather than under the pressure of a ticking clock. I am committed, as always, and as the liaison to the Wayne-Scott CAC, to robust community engagement before any project is proposed for this parcel. The residents of Wayne-Scott and the broader East Hampton community will have every opportunity to be heard. We are a community of extraordinary character and beautiful. It is also a community where too many working people can no longer afford to live here. My support for the town's purchase of the land in Wayne-Scott is rooted in foresight, a recognition that solving the housing crisis requires not just good intentions, but actual resources. And that securing land today is one of the most meaningful investments we can make in the long-term vitality and diversity of our community. We've done it before, we've done it well. We know how to build affordable housing that honors its surroundings, its school, its environment, and its neighbors. The Wayne-Scott parcel will be approached with the same care and the same values. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. David, Tom?
Look, I think that Ian and Kate have summarized on this very well. I also genuinely hear the concerns of the adjacent neighbors here. Look, you've bought your properties here and, you're envisioning potentially the worst thing that could happen. I don't think our track record shows that we typically do that. And you also have to look at the alternatives. What else could happen here if the town hadn't pursued this project? It could have been, two 10,000 square foot houses. Does that provide better service to the community than, affordable housing? What's going to end up here? We haven't discussed that, but we have recognized that there is a long-term need for the town to address affordable housing in this community. This opportunity arose, and we've pursued it for that with long-term goals in mind. The end outcome, look, it could have been a CPF property, potentially. And the town's done a fantastic job in its efforts to maintain our habitat out here with its purchase through CPF. But I think as a town, we're also reaching a fine balance where we have an incredible environment out here, but it's become increasingly impossible for people to live and work out here. We see it with our ability to employ people. We see it with the traffic coming in and out of town every day. It's a challenge, and it's something we have to address. As we go through this process and evaluate this, we will do full due diligence. The end outcome will be something that I think the town will be proud of. My only concern here, as it stands, is what we heard from the Chamberlain estate. If we have misrepresented in any way, ourselves in transactions, then that is of concern to me. I also think that, look, if there's legal fact to demonstrate that the sellers have the ability to cancel this transaction, then the law dictates what it does. But I do overall think that this project is something the town does need, and I think it's something we'll pursue in a way that benefits the town as a whole.
Thank you, Tom. David?
Yeah, thank you. The East Hampton Town Comprehensive Plan has 11 goals. Many of those goals talk about the town and what the town should be able to see for the next 30 years, not plus. Goal 4 of the East Hampton Town Comprehensive Plan is provide housing opportunities that meet the needs of current year-round residents, their family members, and senior citizens, seasonal employees, public employees, emergency service volunteers, and other local workers. When we go to goal 11, it simply states commit to implementing the comprehensive plan. Since I've been on the town board in the last 9 years now, I don't think there's been an affordable housing initiative here that we've tried to do without that purchasing, without community input. And that community input is sometimes in favor, sometimes it's not. Overall, I believe what we're doing on this, it's not a project yet, but it is a purchase of a property for affordable housing, is within what the town board is mandated to do. Is to look at all options to be able to produce affordable housing for the town of East Hampton. And we're not just doing that in this purchase, but also in other initiatives with legislative code on there. I also do believe within town code, local town code, New York State General Obligation Law 64K, the purchase is valid legally. That's what I have to say on the purchase. I'm burning right now inside. Absolutely burning about some of the vitriol that I see when it comes to affordable housing. Have your opinions right now, but do it in a way that is pragmatic and has foresight to what this community needs. I've sat in here for hundreds of meetings that every single time you know that I look at everything through the lens of my children. My friends, Kirby, your nieces, Rachel and Sarah, good luck for them coming back here. I love those two girls. My sister and others, they can't. And every single day, I think about my kids right now who are college, high school, third grader. And yeah, there's percentage was that I have more kids, you have greater percentage of them living here. I don't know if they ever will be able to live here. And the chances of them owning a house out here right now is de minimis. And that means almost not going to happen on there. And with every single person that can't do that, we lose the fabric of our community. We lose our economic engines, making sure that our businesses are staffed, employed, and it really bothers me. I've gone to meetings in the county for 72H property and getting heckled. I've sat here, I've been called names in the past. I will guarantee you, I will do everything moving forward to try to fix this problem as long as I'm here. And this is a potential sliver of a solution here to try to target and acquire a property to try to make sure that this community survives well past me not being here anymore. It really burns me that we can't try to have our differences, but understand the long-term viability of the town of East Hampton right now, and with escalating real estate values, is to try to find all options that are out there for affordable housing, even if they are in your backyard, even if they are against some of your values. But overall, we're in trouble, everyone. Everyone says it. Everyone said this for a decade plus, if not decades. And if we don't take an action here, the worst action is inaction. I will not allow that to happen. I look forward to the resolution.
Thank you, David. So, got emotional for me there.
Okay.
Yeah. So our young people, our hardworking families, our seniors deserve housing they can afford. Too many families right now are having conversations around their kitchen table trying to decide, should we stay or should we go, because of the costs. And as my colleagues pointed out, we have a track record of affordable housing. We're going to put forward a thoughtful plan with community input. That happened at Cantwell Court. When we purchased those 12 acres, we were going to put the houses in the front and the open space, we were going to put the houses in the back and the open space in the front. And based on community input, we switched it around, and the houses are off of Montauk Highway and the open space is behind it. So the same things happened with all of the other projects. Kate mentioned Green Hollow, which was before my time. But, we're going to be doing full environmental review. It's going to be sensitive to the environment. It's going to be appropriately scaled to the neighborhood, because, I feel that it's, as this town supervisor, as a board member, it is on us to preserve our town and our culture. So I think that's a wrap for this after hearing discussion, and I look forward to voting on the resolution today. Tom, you have the last topic, and that is sanitation fees.
Yes, not as fun news as other topics, unfortunately, but a really important one. And I want to do some public education here as to what's going on out with waste management. So those of you who may know, we have different streams of waste that come in. Some are recyclable, our metals, our cardboard, our paper, excellent. Others are not. They go into a generalized waste stream. And what happens to that? Well, we truck it up to Brookhaven, and from Brookhaven, it goes off the island. There is only one contractor who has that ability to do that by train, which is currently how it goes. And we are kind of subsequently bound to cost increases they impose on us. I will commend the head of Suffolk County, Ed Romaine. He has taken on a project to look at how we can address this issue going forward. Some of the concepts he put forward are kind of, they're contentious. One such idea is the idea of waste incineration and the construction and generation of energy from that waste incineration to receive similar grants for renewable energy as a kind of input elsewhere. The alternative is that we're shipping off this waste to economically deprived described areas, and they're suffering the consequences. I'm very much a person who believes that you need to deal with as much of this on site as you can. So with that said, to kind of get to the piece, there's a few changes we're going to be making to the fee structure. These will go into the press in the next week or so, but they're just going to walk you through them. And this largely pertains to anything that's going into that generalized waste stream. So diseased brush is going from $190 a ton with permit to $210 a ton per permit. Large bulk items, including furniture, are seeing the same change to $210 a ton, as are construction and demolition debris, contaminated brush, non-recyclable and food waste, construction and demolition debris, and additionally to that, we are seeing changes to the cost of tires, which are changing from $400 a ton to $450 a ton. That's partially due to their toxicity. And screen compost, which is changing from $30 a yard in cost to $35 a yard in cost. Those are the only changes we're looking to impose. I did kind of discuss this with people elsewhere last night. We discussed it in my Amagansett CAC. One of the feedbacks we had from that meeting was, would there be any way we could introduce lower costs for veterans? I think that's an interesting concept, something we'll begin to look into. I've also heard it from our first responders. Could the town kind of look to mitigate costs for first responders in the town as we're seeing increasing costs of living out here? So those are other areas that we will explore. But those are the changes we're proposing in here, but I'm open to any comments from fellow board members on this.
I don't have many comments. I believe the fees are reasonable, specifically to that the costs are being driven by what we're being charged by outside agencies that are, contractors that take the waste on there. We don't have places to take this to within the town of East Hampton anymore. So we're very reliant on outside locations. So I think these changes are reasonable. Thank you, Tom.
Yes, I support the changes, although I do recognize in this economy, it is a burden to increase any fee right now, whether it's for our businesses or for our residents, but the burden can't be also fully supported by the taxpayers when we have to truck it out and have to pay what we have to pay. So I think the users, I can understand a fee increase for the users.
Yeah, I agree. I think these are all, it's driven by the costs, of waste. There's a cost for the town, and I think that Tom and Steve Lynch and everybody who worked on this have been thoughtful about which rates are going up. I am happy that the self-hauler permit is not going up, because I do think we want to encourage people to throw their trash away at the dump and not litter. So I think that this strikes a good balance between recouping costs the town has to pay, and frankly, it's not going to recoup all of our costs, but also respecting the fact that we want to encourage people to be good actors and take care of their waste.
Okay. I'm supportive as well. So this has to get published first, correct?
Michael, I'll coordinate with you.
All right, beautiful. Thanks. All right, so we're through all of our topics and we're up to liaison reports. So back to you, Tom.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. Amagansett Citizens Advisory Committee, as I mentioned, we met last night. Following that meeting, I would like to put on the agenda for a July work session to give the board an update on the plans and pricing for the proposed lighting upgrade to Main Street, Amagansett. Human Services, they just amaze me with the creativity there. The latest thing that they've done is they've introduced and built a herb garden to go back behind the senior center. Just putting more fresh food into our residents' meals. Just great initiative as always. Fire Marshal's office. There was a hazmat alert yesterday for radiation issue with a town dumpster. I want to thank the Fire Marshal team. Look, as with the land management team who took on that role as arborists across town properties to address public risks, so the Fire Marshal's office has taken on hazmat operations that were previously the responsibility of the different fire districts. The training, resource, and coordination, and centralizing that skill set at the town level makes total sense, but I want to thank our employees for doing that. We're waiting to hear back from...
Are you done with that?
Not quite, sorry,
Okay.
no. Waiting to hear back from Suffolk County regarding the final identification of the source. I will say where we've seen this in the past, it's often been a result of diapers from patients experiencing radiation treatment. Healthcare providers, if they are providing this for patients, are able to provide specific container and collection protocols for that related waste. But if residents have any questions, my office will be happy to direct you to the relevant sources.
But I was just going to say with that radioactive hit that you talked about, that we think it might have been a diaper.
Yes.
They were going to truck it back here and we were going to send our team in, but instead Winter Brothers decided to just put it to the side up the island and they're waiting for it to, and they're handling it themselves. So they're waiting for the radioactivity to subside.
Thank you. Sanitation, just a notification, we're holding our household hazardous waste collection event, also referred to as the Stop Day, Stop Throwing Out Pollutants, on the following days. This Saturday, June 13th, 2026, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. in East Hampton. We will also be holding one Saturday, September 12th in East Hampton and one November 7th in Montauk. I also want to update the public and my colleagues. We've been looking at a camera project at the sanitation departments. This is to address a number of issues. One, as you may all be aware, the personnel issues we face there, hiring people to work in that department is challenging. And if we can move people out of the box and actually get them onto the ground doing other things, it's a win for the town. There's also been, abuse of the existing system. People coming in without stickers to different sites, or kind of just having a sticker saying, no, this is from a different car. It's something we look to and we need to address. And then lastly, but most importantly, is the assault of our sanitation department workers. There was a case about 2 weeks ago with a threat to a town sanitation worker for someone coming in and doing something they're not allowed to do. It's something we simply won't tolerate. So what we're looking at with the town engineer is the possibility of installing cameras at the entrance and the exit to the sanitation department, reading both front and rear license plates. This would work in conjunction with people who have a permit, would be on a list and would be able to use it without any issue. For anyone using it without the permit, they would be sent a bill accordingly. We're working through the nuances of how that would potentially work, but I just wanted to put on people's radar that it is something that we're looking to do in the future. ADU Implementation Committee. Yesterday, myself and members of the Housing Department had a meeting with an organization called Housing Help, Inc. From Long Island. It's a not-for-profit organization that helps families seek access to safe, decent, affordable housing and to develop the financial skills necessary to maintain their home. The discussion we had yesterday was actually they're looking to piggyback on the methodology we use to update our ADU code. They're seeing challenges faced across towns in Long Island to ADUs and want to know kind of some of the nuances we addressed in bringing about those changes. A very interesting organization for those members of the public who do have any issues. Other services they themselves offer are tenant resource programs for first-time home buyers, for homeowners preventing and managing foreclosure processes, and for tenants and landlords to know their rights and responsibilities. For more information, you can reach out to housinghelpinc.org. Brooks Park and Nature Center. This project is currently on hold. I do want to recommendation to the board that we take on some CPF funding to fence off the decaying properties of buildings on the property, Right now, the project's at somewhat of a standstill. The Property Management Committee is waiting to see a revised management plan from the Brooks Park Group, and the town has been working with that group about a licensing agreement. We're waiting to understand, we're waiting to understand from them what areas of the property they would be looking to license. One of the challenges to this property in maintaining it is that the CPF law limits the use of 10% of CPF annual funds for property maintenance on CPF properties. And right now, we have a pretty set list with Carl Fisher House, the Osborne property, Dodge. So Brooks Park is and remains relatively low on that maintenance list. But I do believe that if we're going to see this decay, then for public safety, we should actually use some CPF money to fence off the buildings that are presenting public safety issues. I would also say that, there's one specific property that I think we should look to address potentially, which is the original fishing cottage that was transported from the Montauk area. I would like to see that brought back to Montauk if possible. We acquired those CPF properties on Navy Road. I think that could be a great potential site. The East Hampton Marine Museum, we're finalizing the project with LKMA regarding plans for the Marine Museum following the burst pipe. We will be undertaking a full renovation of that building that I discussed. I'll be meeting later this week with Steve Long of the Historical Society to review what their needs are for that. Fire road access. The management of our risk, we are coordinating with PSEG, Suffolk County Water Authority, for various issues with wildfire risk, especially in the Route 114 area. Specifically, as I mentioned before, what the town's working on is possible access routes in and around the preserve. We'll be sending out a letter this week to residents immediately adjacent to the Edwards Holt Preserve, and following work with district fire officers, just how we increase access to those town properties with high fire loads. That's something I think as we go forward with land management, as we acquire properties and create management plans, we should have an access plan included in the property management plan. As I mentioned recently in prior reports, we recently undertook work to improve access from roof hazard trees along the Palmanock Path. We're currently examining the access to the lateral aspects of the property. Historically, there were fire roads on the Edwards Holt property, but they've not been maintained for decades and are no longer usable. What we're looking at right now is either reopening those fire roads for access or working to get easements from adjacent property owners to use their private access roads as appropriate. So just so we know there's movement coming forward on that one. The new community center on Abraham's Path Road. I'm a great believer that good fences make good neighbors. Recently did a site visit with the town engineer, head of buildings and maintenance, to review the perimeter of property following the prior site cleaning. What we're looking to do here is, provide some privacy to the neighbors there and address any noise, windbreak issues to adjacent properties, specifically the horse farm that's adjacent to it. The approaches we're looking at vary from just simple fencing to a combination of vegetation and a possible berm. I did have discussion with the head of sanitation regarding the berm concept. One thing we saw following the winter storms this year was a huge amount of brush debris coming in from the winter storms, and we actually have a significant excess of material. As head of public works, he also believes there's potential to use a mix of that double grade mulch and soil to potentially create an effective berm at a minimal cost to the town. We're currently reviewing that concept with the town engineer LKMA, and planning. With regards to fencing, I just also want to advise people that the cost of fencing is exceptionally high. As per the head of the Building and Maintenance Department, we recently put in about 100 feet of fence at the Maidstone Park property at a cost of about $100,000. The property line we're looking to address at the community center is about 1,000 feet. While it might not be a 10-fold increase directly, it's going to be a relatively big number for fencing.
So Tom, I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
On that, so adjacent to that property is a long-established, very, very highly used recreational facility, which there's noise blasting out perpetually from. Is that an issue as well? It's adjacent to where you're talking about.
It's not adjacent to the horse farm where the horses are at all, no. It's if you look on a map of where that site is, there's the long driveway we created that goes into the property. The recreational facility is to the left of that.
But I would imagine that sounds travels. I mean, I can't imagine that sound of that recreation facility.
Well, historically it didn't,
contained.
because it was entirely forested, and that mitigated the noise of
Really?
any travel. So like the woodland itself acted as a sound barrier, but since that removal,
Really?
what the adjacent neighbors have seen is not only kind of just noise coming in, but also significant winds coming in, addressing their operations as well. So how we address the wind and the noise is something I'm working on with that project. And then lastly, for the business committee, thank you very much to Rich Normo in the building department. He has shared with some the recent checklist that's been discussed, which is great. We'll be discussing at our upcoming meeting for members. And then, very lastly, that the YMCA meeting for this week has been canceled. So that's it for me.
Thanks, Tom. David?
I'll give a more robust liaison report next week, but the only thing I would like everyone to know is that the East Hampton Little League Championship games are this Friday at the Fred Thiel Recreation Facility at 5 and 7 p.m. Welcome, all is welcome. They're having a barbecue. I'm burning, man. I really am still.
Oh, you can. Oh,
I'll leave it. Yeah,
sorry. No.
Thank you, David.
Mary?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So first I want to announce that the infamous Wainscott Strawberry Festival is happening at the Wainscott Chapel on Sunday, June 21st at 65 Wainscott Main Street. It is hosted by the Wainscott Sewing Society. I don't know if you've been to it before, but if you love strawberries and you love strawberry shortcake, do not miss it. It'll go on from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. We had the Wainscott CAC last Saturday, and we always have it was over Zoom because of the everyone trying to get to the Pride Parade as quickly as possible. So we met on Zoom, which is very infrequent. I will have to say that we, as usual, the important issues to Wainscott were discussed by the committee members. However, there was some guests that signed on, and the vulgarity and accusations of impropriety towards members of the CAC and the other guests at that meeting was disturbing, and I just want to take this moment to apologize to the volunteers that serve our community by sitting on a CAC, the residents of Wainscott that attend, and I will be looking at ways to ensure that that type of vulgarity and attack on Wainscott CAC members does not ever happen again. Sorry, I hope that doesn't make you more burning. But the rest of my report, I'm going to pause until next week.
Thank you, Kate. Ian?
Yeah, just a very brief report. The Ag Advisory Committee will meet this Thursday at 5 p.m. in the Planning Board Conference Room. That committee has been meeting in Suite 111A, which is no longer available for a conference room, so we'll be moving just next door in the Planning Department Conference Room. Again, that's 5 p.m. on Thursday. Springs CAC meeting is next Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. at Ashwalk Hall.
Great. So I'm going to make up for the three of you because I have a long liaison report. So first I want to address the drinking water supply in East Hampton. As Newsday reported today, we have learned that the Suffolk County Water Authority filed a federal lawsuit against the operator of the battery storage facility at 3 Cove Hollow Road, the East Hampton Energy Storage Center. PFAS, the so-called forever chemicals, have been detected in public drinking water supply wells just south of that facility. 2 of the affected wells exceeded New York State's maximum contaminant level, and we understand that the Water Authority immediately took those wells out of service. The source may trace back to the fire at that facility in 2023. The situation is moving quickly, so let me tell you what we know as of today. PFAS have now also been detected in the groundwater south of the facility, and the Suffolk County Department of Health Services has begun going door to door, notifying roughly 30 households that could be affected and offering free drinking water testing in the area of concern. Some of those homes on private wells may fall within the village of East Hampton, which is why I've personally informed the village mayor. I refuse to ask families to wait years for a court to decide who is to blame before their water is protected. Accountability matters, but a lawsuit does not test a private well or groundwater, nor does it ensure that enough water is available. That work has to start now. So the moment I learned of this, I acted. I sent a letter to Governor Kathy Hochul, to County Executive Ed Romaine, to the Water Authority, and to others, calling on every level of government to immediately form a coordinated joint task force. That has occurred. Just yesterday, I led a call with the Governor's Office, the New York State DEC, New York State Department of Health, the County Executive's Office, Suffolk County Department of Health Services, and Suffolk County Water Authority. Those calls are now planned to occur weekly, and David and I will be on them. We have asked the Joint Task Force for 3 things. First, share data so we are all working from the same facts. Second, implement expedited sampling and replacement water at no cost to impacted homeowners. And third, define and remediate the full extent of contamination in the ground. East Hampton families did not cause this problem, and they should not be left holding the bill or with pollution concerns. So let me leave you with where things stand. If you rely on public water, the Water Authority is still serving you, and we understand its water currently meets all drinking water standards. Due to the shutdown of these wells, Suffolk County Water Authority is tracking water usage closely. While we fully expect water to flow through the taps this summer, it is important that we conserve. The easiest thing to do is to ensure that you are watering your lawn only on odd, even days consistent with your house number. If you are on a private well in the immediate area, you may be contacted by the county as part of their door-to-door testing. And if you have questions or think you may have been affected, please reach out to Suffolk County Department of Health Services. We will keep you updated as we learn more. East Hampton residents deserve to know that when they turn on the tap, their water is safe, that the town stands ready to help, and I will keep pressing every level of government until this is resolved. Next, I want to just talk about the East Hampton Sag Harbor CAC met earlier this month, and they discussed a couple of affordable housing opportunities, including the potential acquisition of 549 and 550 Wainscott Northwest Road. And they also discussed Cantwell Court, and we explained how we are working with the New York State Housing and Community Renewal to move that project forward. They also talked about the recent Rooster case and were informed that the town is reviewing its options regarding the recent Justice Court decision. The CAC also briefly discussed a possible request to the town board for an expanded season for the ban on leaf blowers, and they then pivoted to talk about water quality. We talked about the grant program that's available, up to $65,000 between the town, the county, and the state. And they, talked about how we can get more people to participate, voluntarily rather than by necessity. And they want to bring this up at future meetings. And they've also wanted to extend an invitation to Project Most, which we have done, and Project Most will be attending the upcoming meeting in July to give an overview of their latest plans for for the project. Also just want to mention that hurricane season runs from June through November, so it's a good time for residents to review their household emergency plans before a storm is in the forecast. We really stress that residents sign up for town emergency notifications and know where to get official updates and make sure they have more than one way to receive information during severe weather. So we are going to be doing a social media campaign to remind folks, how to get on the town's notifications and where we have information, and also a link to the hurricane preparedness forum that the county put on last June. Last Saturday, we had a job fair at the town. That was, I just want to thank all of the staff that participated. Emily Fisher and Miriam Ramos was there from HR. Amanda Bennett, traffic specialist William McGuire, and police officer Daniel Munoz represented the East Hampton Town Police Department. Sue Jones was there from Parks and Recreation, Niji Valera from Finance, Craig Fick from Sanitation, Kevin Cobb from Highway, Russell Young from Code Enforcement, and Heather Miller from Animal Control. So we have 7 open full-time positions. As we've said in the past, 96% of our full-time positions are filled, but we are looking for an automotive equipment operator in sanitation, an automotive mechanic 1 in highway, an employee benefits supervisor in HR, an environmental technician in natural resources, minibus driver in human services, senior account clerk in finance, and a senior building plans examiner in the building department. We also have 2 part-time positions open for community service worker in human services and an office assistant in ordinance. And then we're looking obviously for seasonal staff for traffic control officers, lifeguards, and recreational aides. I stopped by the event before the Pride Parade, and the event was very well attended. We had about a dozen folks submit applications right there on the spot for the openings that I just discussed. It was really a great opportunity for our residents and prospective applicants to meet town staff, directly ask questions, and better understand how you apply for civil service positions. I should also mention that there were 2 folks from Suffolk County Civil Service that were there as well. And I'd like to thank them, and to Jim Bennett for coming in on a Saturday to assist as security guard. And lastly, this was Emily Fisher, our new Director of Human Services project that she initiated and pitched to us. And so I'm really grateful for her for initiating the job fair and all the efforts that she put in to make it a success. And I should also mention that her mom, Betsy Bono, who works in the town police department, made 100 cookies and individually wrapped them. So there were treats galore. So it was a very successful job fair. The Latino Advisory Committee also met on Saturday morning, but there's been a lot of things going on, so I'm going to postpone that update till next week. And let me just see if I had anything else. I think that's it. So we can now move on to resolutions.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I'll start with the resolution 2026-987. This is to renew agreement with Unisolutions, Questica, for 2026-2027 at a cost to the town not to exceed $23,856.26.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
My pleasure to offer resolution 2026-988. This is an amendment resolution 2026-60 to get the correct budget account code.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. I have Resolution 989, which is the accept of a grant and scenic conservation easement at 51 Westlake Drive in Montauk. The grantor, the public hearing for this grant of scenic and conservation easement was held on June 4th. The grantor is the Jonathan E. Goldman Trust. And again, it's located at 51 East Lake Drive in Montauk. The reviewing agency is the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 26-990, I'd like to make a motion to withdraw.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Resolution 991, this is to authorize an appraisal at Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-144.1-1-11. This is for an appraisal for a home in the home ownership program at 9 Bow Oarsman in an amount not to exceed $600 to be conducted by Elise Prado.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 992, this is to authorize air quality testing at 54 Tub Oarsman, another home in the home ownership program. Silver Wolf Environmental has submitted a quote in an amount not to exceed $4,450.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 993, this is a budget modification for the Community Housing Fund. This is to increase the revenue budget line for real estate transfer tax in the amount of $430,000 and to increase expenditure budget line in the same amount.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have Resolution 2026-994, and this is an appropriation of capital reserve funds for capital equipment acquisition. This authorizes the town board to appropriate funding from the Refuse and Recycling Capital Reserve Fund in the amount of $25,000 to offset the costs related to the purchase of a hauling vehicle for the sanitation department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I have Resolution 995. This is to release security at 12 Garbus Lane, which is a 280A for road improvements. The applicant is Garbus Lane Sherfa. It is 12 Garbus Lane, East Hampton, and the security is in the amount of $6,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 996, this is a resolution authorizing closing on the acquisition of real property at 549 and 550 Wayne-Scott Northwest Road and authorizing the expenditure of Community Housing Fund proceeds pursuant to Town Law 64K. The amount is not to exceed $3,975,000 plus reasonable survey, title, tax, recording, and other related and customary charges to be paid from budget account code CH8988.52703.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I think that's all we have.
I'd like to make a motion. Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session for litigation, public safety, personnel, and real estate.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and thank you, LTV.
Thank you, and you are